Patreon Q&A number 52. So that means 52 weeks in a row we've been doing these Patreon Q&As, meaning we've been doing this for a year. So thank you so much for allowing this to exist and supporting me for one whole year, guys. This is amazing. I feel so lucky to have you guys in my life, and I appreciate it more than you know, and I hope we can go at least another year. But, we'll see what happens. So, to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully after this point. Legandaryus asks, hey, Shonen, been busy lately and have a question. Would special abilities that alter time and space affect Saitama, or would King's Metaluck prevent it from happening? So this is a great question, and this is what I feel is ultimately going to come when Saitama faces off against God, if he does, which just seems likely at this point. Because we really can't answer this question at this point because we haven't seen Saitama face anyone with these type of abilities yet. And I feel that that's the ultimate challenge that God will present, because we've seen Saitama go against the ultimate raw power of Boros. He was super fast, super strong, has like the energy attacks and all of that standard overpowered battle manga villain stuff. And then we saw him go against the ultra skilled, counter protagonist, antagonist in Awakened Garo. He dealt with that, but he's never really had to deal with like crazy otherworldly fourth dimensional abilities like with altering time or space and stuff like that. And it really does seem like God has those abilities just based off of what we have seen him do against Homeless Emperor. Like that whole sequence where he kills him, that's obviously not happening in the reality that Zombie Man is a part of. So that could be happening in like an altered space-time type thing, which I assume that he could do this to other beings or something, or just once he comes into our own reality, he could probably just do some crazy, like, Marvel cosmic being level stuff, and that's just going to be the ultimate challenge for Saitama. It was going to see, like, is his absolute power enough to just overpower brute force through that crazy time-altering space stuff, That's the big question. Probably. It's probably going to be able... I feel that Saitama's power, maybe, like, him pushing himself, like, seriously. Like, everything he does is serious, not just one individual thing, like serious sidesteps, serious table flips, serious punch. He's just going to be serious. Like, serious speed, serious everything. And then maybe that's enough to just brute force over insane time and space altering abilities. And then I feel that that's ultimately how he's going to take out God Pump. We're just going to see Saitama, for once, be serious. Like, genuinely serious. But as for King, that's a good question, too. I don't know. It really does seem like King's ability alters reality, which I feel that it is. But would that be able to supersede a time and space thing, or are they relative? It's difficult to answer, but I feel that King maybe... I don't know, maybe his ability would conflict with God's ability. Maybe one wouldn't supersede the other, Free-Tshirts asks, hey, Shonen, fingers crossed you see my post this time. I actually do see it on the Patreon page now. I was in contact with Patreon about this issue, so maybe they fixed it, which is good. My first question is about the monster Saitama one-shots right before meeting Flashy Flash. We don't get any information off of him, but he was definitely bigger and more intimidating than most of the fodder monsters, which leads me to believe that he's at least demon, just based on the appearance. What disaster level would you give him? Yeah, he's very likely like a low demon. There was definitely like low, maybe mid demon sprinkled in to the fodder, the horde that the Monster Association had. We found this out first when in Chapter 94, Murata gave us some insight into that one horned monster that Puri Puri Prisoner completely decimated. He said that he was as strong as Deep Seeking. That's maybe a little hyperbolic, but it's still giving us some insight into that they're not all tigers and wolves. There's definitely maybe some weaker demons in there. Maybe just not strong enough to get names and to have emphasis placed on them, like Rhino Wrestler and Pure Blood, guys like that. And then also we saw that Devil Executioner guy that Atomic Samurai went against, so he was probably like another demon. Oh, and then Vacuma. He was a demon too. So yeah, there's definitely demons sprinkled in there. Just not like significant ones. And I feel like this guy that Saitama took out was likely one of those insignificant demons. Probably just like the strongest fodder, more or less. So what else you got? My second question is, who do you think would win in a fight between Zombie Man and Metal Bat? Both are known to never stop fighting till they win, So do you think one could outlast another, or would the battle just go on forever? Thanks for all the hard work you put into your videos. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you so much, Free-Tshirts. I really appreciate it. And this is a difficult question, but I'll try my best. So it really depends on if Metal Bat can take bullets or just the firepower that Zombie Man has in general, because Zombie Man can definitely withstand the initial force and attack of Metal Bat. I think he could come back from that. But are the bullets that Zombie Man has, are they going to kill Metal Bat? Or are they going to break his skin? Or are they going to injure him? Like, is his skin durable enough to just defend against the bullets? Because maybe he could stop one or two with his bat. He does have pretty fast reflexes. We saw that he was able to stop Garo's initial strike on him, even being blindsided, which is pretty significant, but he wasn't able to do much after that. So it really comes down to that. Because if these bullets are hurting him, then his fighting spirit is going to kick in and he's going to get stronger. But are the bullets enough to kill him? Are they enough to maim him? Like blow off an arm or take his head off possibly or something? You know, it's hard to tell. I mean, the big reference, frame of reference that we have is like Garo was able to deflect Death Gatling's bullet with his hands. But it wasn't like he was just standing there, you know, taking it like Superman or Darkshine or something. So if Metal Bat can take these bullets but not die from them, then he's likely going to become strong enough to defeat Zombie Man. Like, just straight up splatter him to the point of no return, which, in theory, he could become strong enough to do that. And Zombie Man's not really going to be able to stop it like one of the stronger, faster, more skilled S-Class heroes would be able to. And then also, it's like, there's that thing out there with the possibility of Metal Bat not being able to die. Because I made a video about this. Metal Bat might be stronger than you thought. He talks about it in the VGS. He says that he'll be revived from death with his fighting spirit ability. So we can read into that as much as we want. Was it just something that he was saying, or was it one subtly telling us that like Metal Bat can revive from death? So if Zombie Man kills him with like a bullet or some kind of other weapon that he has, is Metal Bat just going to come back from death and then become even stronger? Maybe fighting spirit on top of Zenkai boost, and then he just totally annihilates Zombie Man to the point of no return, because there is a point where Zombie Man will not be able to regenerate. He's not like indestructible. He's not completely unbeatable. You know, there is a point where he can't come back, and I feel that Metal Bat can be pushed that far to annihilate him, but like I said, it ultimately comes down to how far Metal Bat can tank the bullets and the stuff that Zombie Man has. Joshua D asks, reading the webcomic right now in chapter 78, Pig God is talking, saying, is now the time? Shouldn't I preserve my power for the last moment? But if I die here, who will save the world? Do you think it's possible that he could be Blast, that maybe let himself go, or is disguising himself as being obese or something? Just a thought based off of that dialogue. So this is actually like a recurring theory, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. Some people are, you know, serious and whatnot in the community. Throughout the years, I've probably since this chapter ever came out, some people have speculated that Blast could be Pig God. And then some people say that like Blast is inside of Pig God, and that Pig God is like talking to Blast or something. So it does make sense, because, or some sense I should say, because, you know, we know Blast is said to come out when the world truly needs saving, which lines up with what Pig God is saying here. But I don't think these two things are connecting. I don't think Pig God is Blast, and I don't think Blast is connected to Pig God. Pig God doesn't appear to be the age of what Blast would be. He has it just doesn't seem likely. Pig God seems to be like his own person. Like, his ability is inherent to him. It's not like something that Blast was even implied to have or something. I just feel like Pig God has some kind of ability that can just like, I don't know, it's like a one-off thing. Like, he could do something and then it just takes out like almost anyone, like regardless of their power, but then he dies in the process. Because he says, if I die here, who will save the world? So maybe it has something to do with his ability to eat. Maybe he can like nuke himself. Like, he just has the ability to explode, and it's so powerful that it could just take out what he perceives to be a disaster level god threat, possibly. Or he creates like a black hole, or, you know, the other trope with fat characters is that they become thin and ultra powerful, but then maybe he does that, but then at the cost of his life. Like, he could do it for a little bit and then he dies.
Similar to what we're, in theory, what is going on with Genos in his current form. If he goes to 100% of his power, he can only last for 10 seconds. And then if he goes more than 10 seconds, he'll die. It could be something like that. It's just some kind of secret ability that he has, more or less. I don't think it's connected to Blast or anything. It could be, but I just don't think the odds of that happening are very likely. I think Blast is going to be like his own dude. He's actually probably going to show up in the next year or the next couple months in the webcomic. There's been a lot of talk of him. I just don't feel he's connected to Big God. Austin J asks, "Hi, Shonen, moving ever forward in life, I hope." I'm definitely trying, Austin, and I really hope you are too as well. My question this week is about the latest chapter of Samurai 8. I'm really intrigued and still a little confused by the concept of samurai software, and it seems that not all users of the software are created equal. Being that Hachimaru has a particularly strong attraction attribute, do you think each person that becomes a samurai is born with a certain level of ability to navigate the software? Also, since it's a software, do you foresee any possibility of hacking? I suppose Mandala and Pandora's Box acts as master keys or administrative authorities of the software, but I wonder if there are other ways of taking control. What do you think? Thanks again for your hard work. So, yes, this is a good question. So the software, as we know, is just like the chakra, I guess, of this world. It's like the fundamental that allows the samurais to be samurais and to do what they do. Controlling the matter that they do, having the soul swords, doing the attacks, all of that stuff. And it was all, at least implied, to be created by Akala, who I assume used the power of Mandala and Pandora's Box to create these, possibly, since essentially it's like having the Infinity Gauntlet, I guess, when you have both the control of these boxes, which he did have at one point. And then, from what I remember, I think the 4 styles of the software were his disciples, and I guess he gave them those individual licenses that they were talking about and they were passed down. But as for what you're saying about how not all samurais or just people in general are born equally, I think this is definitely true. Because, what Daruma says about Hachimaru, it's kind of implying that Hachimaru has, I guess you could say this is like the talent, the inherent talent that one has over other people. And he was just born with a stronger ability to have what is known as the attraction than others. And that's why he's more adept at becoming better at things, I suppose. So I guess it is just that way. Like typically with shonen protagonists, and it's fine. He's got to have something because he was born with essentially nothing, so it's fine. But also, yeah, I definitely think that hacking is going to come, for sure. Since we've seen that there is definitely a link to be made between 2 samurai. We saw it with Daruma and Hachimaru, and then we saw it with Ata and Ikaku. So there's got to be like the reverse dynamic to this as well. But it remains to be seen if it can be done like wirelessly, maybe. Maybe what Ryu was doing to Daruma in this latest chapter. You saw like when he put his hand up and it just stopped Daruma. Maybe that was like a subtle form of hacking, possibly. But regardless, I do feel that there could be like a way of just straight up forcefully hacking somebody by connecting your key to their key and then doing something that way. I think we're going to see that eventually. And maybe that's going to be like a way for a villain to get information from like Hachimaru that otherwise they wouldn't have gotten, and that's going to be like the foil to what Daruma and everyone else is trying to do. Bryan asks, "Hey Shonen, just joined recently after subbing to you on YouTube about a month ago. Love your videos, man." Hey, I really appreciate that, Bryan. Thank you so much for choosing to support me, my friend. My question is, what do you think the Toguro brothers from Yu Yu Hakusho would be classified in One Punch Man? High demons? Yeah, definitely in that ballpark. Maybe low dragon for younger Toguro at the peak of his power. What he says is 120, but is actually the true 100%. The feats that he has are pretty impressive, but they're not, of course, lining up with like those of like the stellar feats of the other dragons in One Punch Man. I would say that, he could go as far as definitely above demon, and like I said, it could be argued that he is low dragon because he has really good speed, he has really good power, as we saw at the end of the Dark Tournament. But comparing it to like Deep Sea King, they're relative or comparable. They don't seem to be too much more outrageous than that. He does do some crazy stuff, don't get me wrong, and he does have some abilities that Deep Sea King doesn't have, but he's not really up there with like a Goketsu or somebody like that. But as for Elder Toguro, I would say he's a straight up high demon, maybe mid demon. His abilities are pretty significant even for the world of One Punch Man. But he doesn't really have much else going for him. He kind of just has that one ability. And we see that monsters that rely too much on their abilities, or just characters in general that are too complacent on their abilities, it really hinders them in battle, which essentially hinders their disaster level, which makes them less of a threat, I suppose. Paxson D asks, "Hey Shonen, hope you're well, man. I think you missed my question a couple weeks back. My fault for being so late." Hey, I'm sorry about that, Paxson. Maybe you did post it after I started working on the video. If that does happen, just shoot me a message on Patreon and just let me know what I can do to make it up. If you want me to answer like multiple questions or do something else special for you, I have no problem with doing that. It's not my intention to miss any questions. Actually recently, one of our fellow patrons, Free-Tshirts, his question just wasn't showing up on Patreon. It was like an issue that they had. So it might have been that too, but if it ever happens, just feel free to let me know and I'll fix it the best way that I can. Hope you're well, man. I hope you're well too. If Genos fights Neon, how well do you think it'd go? He'd have a good week, my friend. You too, Paxson. I really do hope you have a good week. I appreciate all the support that you've given me for so long. So Genos against Neon, I think if Genos does show up, which I speculated to be like a 60% chance at this point, maybe 70%, it seems likely that he is. It seems like he's probably going to win. Because like I said, Neon is unaccounted for in the webcomic, means that he's new to the manga, his fate is unknown, and he's probably not going to stick around for the final war, all the sequences that happen leading up to the end of this arc, meaning that he might be taken out now. And the other thing that supplements that is that Genos doesn't really do anything of substance in this arc in the webcomic. It's really disappointing what he does. He does nothing. He just, kind of delays the inevitable. He kind of saves Tatsumaki from Fura Ugly, I guess. That's about it, It really sucks that Genos doesn't really do anything. And I feel that Neon maybe has been added, to supplement the Monster Association, have another imposing figure in the amongst the cadres. But then maybe it's just so Genos can get a big, substantial moment in this arc, like a big win. And finally get that big win, which has eluded him in this series so far. He hasn't really been able to defeat anything more than just like an ancillary demon or something. So I feel that this is probably it. But it really remains to be seen if Genos is going to use the full brunt of his 100% full power on Neon. Maybe he doesn't even need to use that. Maybe he's just strong enough to take out Neon without doing that, and then maybe he'll use it later on, and then he's eventually, he takes himself out, and then it's like revealed that, it was all for nothing, typically with Genos, we saw it with Elder Centipede, and we also saw it kind of with Mosquito Girl when he was going to off himself, but then Saitama just came to save the day. So we'll see what happens, but I feel the chances of him defeating Neon are pretty good, given the evidence that we have. Real One asks, "Hey Shonen, I've got One Piece filled questions today. Germa 66 wanted to ally with the Big Mom Pirates to gain strong fighters and resources to take over the North Blue. Germa 66 are mercenaries who help countries in war win battles for money, and that is similar to what Buggy and the Buggy Delivery Service do. Send out mercenaries to country who hired them. Now my question is, if Germa 66 had allied with Buggy instead of the Big Mom Pirates, who would they have been able to take over the North Blue? Or how far do you think they would get? Also, in this scenario, since they both are allied with the world government, they wouldn't be doing anything illegal and the Marine wouldn't be fighting them, but they probably can't attack allied nation in the north and could still grow by recruiting more pirates." So this is a great question. Very nuanced, very outside the box for just questions that are being asked in the One Piece fandom, at least as of late. So I'm down with this. And I feel that's probably ultimately why Germa 66 wanted the allegiance of Big Mom, wanted a Yonko backing them. Because if they were to do some things like attacking an allied nation, then the world government really would be wary of counterattacking them, because essentially they would be poking a Yonko, which is what they don't really want to do. At least not at this point. And it leads me to believe that, they wouldn't really need Big Mom otherwise, because I feel that they're probably strong enough to take over the North Blue by themselves. Anything that's not in the Grand Line or the New World, compared to a force like Germa 66, isn't that big of a deal. Maybe there's some big fish in small pond there, but I feel that them just by themselves will be enough to take it over. But them with Buggy, that would certainly help them. Buggy Delivery Service, like you said, is doing their thing. And if they were to combine forces and then have both of the assets and the strong suits that they bring to each other, not like the suits, the raid suits. I mean, just like their strong attributes that they have, they would complement each other. Maybe just build on the astounding charisma that both of them have. The Germa 66 and the legend that they have and all of that stuff, along with Buggy, the deity figure that he is, the pseudo-deity that he has become. It would certainly help, but they would really be taking a chance, like you said, attacking the allied nation in the north, and then they would draw a big problem from the world government there, which would probably have Buggy being kicked out of the warlords, which is what they don't want. So they'd probably have to do some secret stuff. They'd have to probably become something like a Doflamingo type strategy, which is totally possible. So I feel like you have the right idea here with what you're saying, but it ultimately comes down to them not triggering the world government, which is difficult because how things are going there. But I feel like they could probably, if they played their cards right, they could dominate the North Blue and just take it over completely. How what I was saying with Doflamingo did, while staying true to the Warlord title and not really disrupting anything. But it's difficult. But I'm sure they could figure out something to do. This is a good question. Zapphod B asks, does Saitama push himself up, or does he push the world down when he's doing a push-up? Like Chuck Norris. That's pretty funny, Zapphod. I don't know. I feel that he's probably just pushing himself when he's doing the push-up, because we don't see any catastrophic results of him doing it, meaning that he's not pushing the world down, which I think if he were to do that, it would disrupt everything probably. It would affect the weather, affect the gravity on it. I'm not smart, but I assume that also for him even to do this, he would have to separate himself from gravity in order to do this type of feat. And also, even if he could, he wouldn't want to do it because of the ramifications of it, and he doesn't want to harm humanity in the process, unless he did it unknowingly. But so far, it doesn't seem like he's pushing the world down, although in theory he could. I'm sure he's strong enough when he's being super serious to achieve a feat like that, as outlandish as it sounds. But Saitama, we all know he's outrageous. If a hurricane were to monsterfy in the One Punch Man universe, what would its disaster level be? So it's probably going to be like a dragon, because it would definitely be a threat to a city or multiple cities, as a hurricane is. So yeah, it would ultimately become definitely a dragon, and then the severity of it will really depend on if it's a mid, high, or low, or something like that, what abilities it would gather. But just in general, it would for sure be a dragon. And then, would a nuke stop such a creature or make it stronger? Surprisingly, the nuke wouldn't stop it. It would actually just make it stronger, and it would make it radioactive as well. Maybe it would promote it to disaster level god. This has actually been proposed by, I think scientists or something, talking about, nuking a hurricane to just overpower it, but it wouldn't be enough. It would just ultimately make the hurricane stronger. Even a nuke. It comes down to a numbers game, but in theory, a nuke wouldn't be able to stop a hurricane, which is surprising. Look it up. I'm not even joking. It's crazy. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 64 of my patrons and anyone else who has donated to my Patreon to support me throughout these 52 weeks of the last year. Thank you so much, guys. And like I said before, let's hope for, or at least I hope for, another year of great support from you guys, regardless of how big or small it is. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out my Patreon. It'll give you access to this video in the $5 tier. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.